Good morning students. Welcome to Vijay Chaitanya PU College run by Navodaya Foundation. My name is Vidya MC. I am your biology lecturer. I have completed MSc in Bioscience from Bangalore University and B.Ed from Bangalore University. I have total 10 years of work experience. I have worked in various colleges across Bangalore and Mysore. This is my 10th year of work experience with you students. As you all know, we are all interested in the regular classroom sessions. However, due to pandemic situation where coronavirus is spreading across the globe, we are unable to come under a single roof and carry out the normal teaching learning process. However, we are taking a very good initiative of bringing the classroom to your doorstep. So that is the reason we are recording the classes and we are sending to your WhatsApp group so that you can be in regular touch with the course. Okay, so today we are starting with my first class, that is your biology class. So students, in today's class, I am going to brief you about your first year biology syllabus. Okay, so this session is going to be all about your NCERT biology syllabus for first PUC. I want all of you to know that in your PUC, that is aggregated of your first PUC and second PUC, you will be studying 10 units all about biology. Okay, however, out of those 10 units, 5 units you will be studying in your first year classes. Okay, so which are those 5 units? I will explain in detail. Okay, so this is going to be your unit 1, diversity in the living world. I have already mentioned in your first year biology classes or in your first year biology syllabus, 5 units are covered. The first unit is diversity in the living world. Okay, so under that unit you will be studying 4 chapters. The first chapter is the living world, second chapter is biological classification, third chapter is plant kingdom, fourth chapter is animal kingdom. All these 4 chapters are covered in your unit 1, which is diversity in the living world. So what you will be studying in this whole unit? You will be studying about how the living world is diverse, or which are the different types of living organisms you will be able to find on this particular world. Okay, so under that unit, diversity in the living world, the chapter 1 is the living world. Okay, what is the living world and what do you mean by living and which are the living organisms, how you consider an organism as living. Okay, all these aspects will be covered under your chapter 1, which is the living world. The chapter 2 is biological classification. Under this chapter, you will be studying about how living organisms are classified into different categories or different groups based on their characteristics. Okay, so you might be knowing the different levels of classification, how we classify our living organisms and on which categories all the living organisms present on this world are categorized. Under this you will be studying about different kingdoms like Plantae, Mycota, Animalia, Monera. Okay, all these kingdoms you will be studying about, studying under biological classification. You will be studying in detail the different kingdoms like Monera, Protista, Mycota, Plantae and Animalia. Okay, the next chapter coming under diversity in the living world is plant kingdom. Okay, in this particular chapter you will be studying about everything about plant kingdom. Okay, which are the different plants that are present on the world. It includes your algae, your bryophytes, your pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Then comes your chapter 4. It is animal kingdom. In this particular chapter, you will be studying about different categories of animals or different classification of animals, how the animals are categorized, what are the different levels of organization in animals. All these things, all these information will be covered under this particular animal kingdom chapter. Okay, so these 4 chapters come under the unit 1, which is diversity in the living world. You will be studying about different types of plant, different types of animal, microorganisms, everything, and the 5 kingdom of classification, which is kingdom Monera, kingdom Protista, kingdom Mycota, kingdom Plantae, and kingdom Animalia. Okay, so then we will move on to the next unit, which is structural organization in plants and animals. Okay, there is a difference between your unit 1 and unit 2. Okay, in unit 1 you will be studying all about the different classification of organism, whereas in the unit 2 we will be studying the structural organization, the morphology and the anatomy of different categories of organisms. Okay, structural organization, it includes both in plants and animals. Okay, we will be studying about the structural organization. When we say structural organization, the morphology as well as the anatomy of different plants, as well as morphology and anatomy of animals. Okay, here in this under this particular unit 2, we will be studying about 3 different chapters. The chapter 5 is morphology of flowering plants. Okay, the chapter 5 is morphology of flowering plants, and the chapter 6 is anatomy of flowering plants. Okay, so there is always a difference between morphology and anatomy. Morphology is something which you can study by just looking at the external appearance. Anatomy is something which you will find inside a plant or an animal. Okay, what are the different internal organs present in a plant? We will be studying about this in this particular chapter. Whereas in chapter 5, we will be studying about morphology of flowering plants. In this chapter, we will study about the stem, different modification of stems, root, different modifications of roots. We will be studying about leaf, different modification of leaf, how leaves are arranged in a plant, how inflorescence are arranged in a plant, what is the structure of a flower, what is the structure of a dicot seed, monocot seed. All these aspects will be covered under this chapter, morphology of flowering plants. Then moving on to the next chapter, that is chapter 6, it talks about anatomy of flowering plants. So we will be studying about the anatomy or the internal structure of a flowering plant. Okay, in this particular chapter, we will be studying about the tissue present in the flowering plants. Okay, we will be studying about parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. We will be studying about xylem, phloem. Okay, so these are the internal structure of a flowering plants. It will be covered under this chapter 6. Okay, then moving on to the chapter 7, it talks about structural organization in animals. How what is the anatomy of different animals? Okay, how the structures are organized in animals. Okay, we will be studying under this particular chapter, that is chapter 7. Okay, I hope these 2 units are very clear to you. As I already mentioned, you will be studying about 5 units in your first year biology syllabus. The unit 1 is diversity in the living world. Unit 2 is structural organization in plants and animals. Okay, then we will study about the unit 3, that is cell, structure and functions. Okay, this is the unit 3, cell, structure and functions. Under this, we will be studying about what is cell. Okay, you know what is a cell. It is a structural and functional unit of any living organisms. Why we call a cell as a structural and functional unit of living organisms? We will be studying everything about a cell. Okay, we will be studying about plant cell, we will be studying about animal cell. Okay, so the whole unit is about cell, its structure and its functions. Okay, under this particular unit 3, we will start with chapter 8. There are 3 chapters included. Okay, there are 3 chapters covered. Chapter 8 is cell, the unit of life. In this chapter, we will study all the basics about cell. Okay, and what are the different cell organelles, how a plant cell appears, how a plant animal cell looks like, Okay, all these things will be covered under chapter 8. Then moving on to the chapter 9, it talks about biomolecules. All the molecules present inside a living organism or inside a cell will be studied under this particular chapter, biomolecules. Okay. What we will be studying particularly in this chapter, we will be studying about carbohydrates, we will be studying about proteins, we will be studying about fats and the different molecules present inside any living organism. Okay. So that is going to be a chapter 9. Then moving on to the chapter 10. Chapter 10 talks about cell cycle and cell division. I am sure you all have studied about cell division in your previous classes in your high schools. Okay, this chapter is all about what is a cell cycle, okay, how a cell functions and what is cell division. In this particular chapter we will study about mitosis as well as meiosis, which are the two important aspects of your first PUC syllabus. That's all about unit 3, okay, which is cell structure and functions. This whole unit is all about the cell. Moving on to the next unit, which is unit 4, it talks everything about plant physiology. Okay, it teaches us what is plant physiology. Okay, what are the different actions taking place inside a plant. Okay, that is plant physiology. Under this, the first chapter is, there are 5 chapters covered under this particular unit known as plant physiology. The first chapter, that is chapter 11, we are continuing the numericals here. Okay, so chapter 11 is transport in plants. How transportation happens in plants. Inside the plant, how water and food molecules or food is transported from one location to another location. That will be studied under this chapter, transport in plants. Then comes the chapter 12, which is mineral nutrition. There are different types of minerals present in, which is required for the growth of a plant. We will be studying about all those minerals in this particular chapter known as mineral nutrition. Then chapter 13, which is the third chapter under plant physiology, photosynthesis in higher plants. The whole mechanism of photosynthesis will be covered under this chapter, photosynthesis in higher plants. Moving on to the next chapter, which is chapter 14, respiration in plants. Okay, respiration in plants. There is a process known as respiration happening in plants. We will study about that respiration, all the processes involved in respiration in plants in this particular chapter. We will be studying about glycolysis, we will be studying about Krebs cycle, we will be studying about electron transport system in this chapter. Next chapter is plant growth and development, again under this unit, plant physiology. The whole chapter is all about the hormones involved in plant growth and plant development. We will be studying about different hormones and what are the functions of those hormones with reference to plant growth and plant development. Okay, these chapters will be covered under the unit 4, which is plant physiology. Okay, moving on to the next unit, which is going to be a last unit, which is going to be the last unit of your syllabus. That unit is human physiology. Okay, just like we studied plant physiology, we will have to study about human physiology. Okay, under this there are 7 chapters included. Okay, let's begin with the chapter 16, which is digestion and absorption. We will be studying everything about human digestive system and how food that we consume or we eat are digested and absorbed in our body. That will be studied under this chapter, digestion and absorption. The next chapter is going to be breathing and exchange of gases. How we breathe. Under this we will be studying about human respiratory system, how we breathe, and how exchange of gases happens between our body and the atmosphere. Then the chapter 18, the third chapter under human physiology, body fluids and circulation. Okay, we will be studying about blood, we will be studying about plasma, different components of blood, and how blood is helpful in the circulation. Okay, how blood is circulated in our body. We will be studying about the structure of heart and how blood is circulated in our body. Everything we will be studying under this particular chapter, body fluids and circulation. Moving on to the next chapter, that is chapter 19, excretory products and their elimination. How excretion happens in our body and which are the different types of excretory products produced in our body. We will be studying in detail about the structure of kidney, the structure of a nephron, how urine is formed in our body. Everything will be covered under excretory products and their elimination chapter. Then the next chapter is chapter 10, which is locomotion and movement. Locomotion and movement is nothing but how we are able to move our body parts. Okay. In this we will be studying about different muscles, we will be studying about reflex mechanism, we will be studying about the different proteins involved in movement, and the next chapter is going to be chapter 21, that is neural control and coordination. Okay, in this chapter we will study about how what is the function of a neuron, how our brain function, what is the structure of brain, what is the structure of neurons, and how nerve signals are conducted in our body. Everything will be studied under this chapter, neural control and coordination. Then moving on to the last chapter of your unit 5, it is chemical coordination and integration. In this chapter we will be studying everything about our body hormones. Okay, since we are talking about human physiology, we will be studying about all the hormones produced inside in a human body. It includes both the male hormones and the female hormones. Okay, so this chapter is all about how hormones function in our body, which are the different hormones produced in our body, and how what is the mechanism of their action. So this is going to be your last unit, which is human physiology. It covers 7 chapters. Now let's talk about the weightage of marks which every unit carries. Let's talk about the unit 1, which is diversity in the living world. You all know it covers 4 chapters. So the weightage of this particular unit is 17 marks. Okay, so it is the weightage of this particular unit is 17 marks. That indicates that the question with a weightage of 17 marks will appear in your question paper from this particular unit. Then the unit 2, which is structural organization in plants and animals, it has a weightage of 14 marks. Okay, the question of almost 14 marks will be appearing in your question paper from this particular unit, structural organization in plants and animals. Then let's move on to the next unit, which is cell structure and function. This unit has 3 chapters covered under it and it has a weightage of 17 marks. Okay, then the 4th unit, plant physiology, it covers 5 chapters under it. It has a weightage of 27 marks. Okay, so this unit is going to be one of the most important units of your syllabus because it has a weightage of 27 marks. Let's move on to the next unit, which is going to be your unit 5, which is human physiology. As you can see, it has the highest weightage in your syllabus. It carries it has a weightage of 29 marks because it has 7 chapters covered under this one unit. Okay, it has a weightage of 29 marks. Okay, so this is all going to be your syllabus for the next 1 year. Okay, as you all know, the regular classroom sessions are more effective when we talk about teaching and learning. However, due to this particular, due to this existing situation, we all know that we are unable to do it. That is the reason we are conducting, we are recording the classes and sending across to you. Okay, I want all of you, or I request all of you to be regular, be sincere. Please listen to the classes. Those are sent to you every day, regularly, without missing it. If you do not understand any concept here, even though we are not present in front of you, even though you cannot interact with us, directly, please resume, please pause it, go back. You have the option of going back and listening to the class again, or if you have missed any point, you again have the option of listening to it again. So I want all of you to listen to the classes again and again. If you have any confusion or you have our numbers, you can directly contact us if you have any doubts. I hope to see you all. See you all here with us very soon. So let's begin with our first chapter, that is the living world. Under this unit, diversity in the living world. Let's begin with the chapter 1, that is the living world. Okay, before that, since we are starting our first class in biology, what is biology? Biology is the study of living organisms and living processes. I don't have to write it because you have already studied biology in your previous classes. Biology is nothing but it is a study of living organisms and the life processes. Okay, which you will be completely studying about what is a living organism. Okay, you will be completely studying about living organisms and the life processes or the living processes. What are the different processes happening inside a living organisms will be studied in biology. Okay, what is the living world? Living world means it is a world where you will find living organisms. Or what is a living world? Living world means what is it comprised of, or what is it made up of? It is made up of, or it carries diversity of living organisms. Okay, it carries diversity of living organisms. In the living world, we will have diversity means variety. Variety of living organisms present in the living world. This diversity of living organism is referred as biodiversity. Okay, the diversity or the variety of living organisms that you find on earth or you find in the world is referred as biodiversity. Variety in the living organisms. Biodiversity has one more explanation. Biodiversity means sum total of species richness. Okay, biodiversity can also be explained as sum total of species richness. The total of species richness. What is the species? We all belong to the species known as Homo sapiens. Human species is known as Homo sapiens. Similarly, there are lakhs and lakhs of different plant species, animal species, microbial species living in the same world as we are living. Okay, the total of all these species together is known as biodiversity. Okay, so since we are talking about the living world, we should know about what is living. What is living? Living means if somebody asks you a question, what is living? What will be your answer? Your answer will be, it's very difficult to answer. However, I can give you an answer as state of being alive is known as living. If somebody asks you what is living, you can say it is a state of being alive. We are alive, right? We are all alive. That itself is living. Now, how do you say a particular organism is living or something is not living? What is the difference between a living organism and a non-living object? Okay, we will be studying about characteristics of living organisms. Characteristics of living if I ask you, how do you determine whether an organism is living or non-living, then we will have to look into certain characteristics to decide whether an organism is living. So which are those characters? The first character is growth, right? Depending upon growth, we can decide if an organism is living. A bench or a chair doesn't grow, whereas a living organism grows. The second character of a living organism is reproduction. Okay, if an organism is capable enough to produce its offsprings or children, the process is known as reproduction. This is one of the important characteristics of a living organism. The third characteristic is metabolism. Metabolism means when we are just sitting or standing, our body is not sitting idle. Our body is carrying out a lot of chemical reaction inside it. Those chemical reactions are known as metabolism. Even though you are sleeping, even though you are sitting, you are lying down, you are standing, whatever chemical reaction has to be taken place inside your body, it is going through, it is happening in your body without any disturbance. That process is known as metabolism. Then the next character is cellular organization. Cellular organization. Cellular organization means your body is made up of cells, right? Trillions of cells. In your body you have trillions of cells present, which constructs your actual body. Now, there are organisms like unicellular organism, multicellular organisms. You know what is a cell? We will study about every characteristics one by one later. The last or one of the other important characteristics of living organism is consciousness. Consciousness. We have sense. We have conscious, right? Which a non-living object does not have. These are the 5 important characteristics of a living organisms. If you have to call any organism as living, then they should possess these different characteristics. Let's study one by one. Let's begin with growth. What is growth? Growth is permanent and irreversible increase in the size of an organism accompanied by increased biomass. Okay, so what is growth? Growth is a permanent. Permanent means once you have achieved a certain level of growth, that is going to be the permanent. Nobody can bring it back or nobody can change it. And irreversible. Irreversible means once you have reached a height of 6 foot, you cannot again go back to 5 foot 8 inches. Right? So that is referred as irreversible. If you are growing, then I have already said, if you have attained a height of 6 feet, then you cannot come back to the height of 5 feet. Okay, it will not happen because growth is irreversible. It is permanent and irreversible increase in the size of an organism accompanied by increased biomass. Okay, when we say growth, not only your size is increasing, size is also accompanied by increased biomass. Biomass means our weight of a living organism is known as biomass. When our size increases, our biomass also increases. If you weigh a 6 feet tall person, his biomass will be higher when compared to a 4 feet tall person. Okay, so that is growth. It is a permanent. That means once you have grown to a particular height, that is going to be permanent. You cannot come back. Irreversible is the same way. Okay, increase in the size of an organism. Permanent and irreversible increase in the size of an organism. It is accompanied. It is also happening along with increased biomass. Okay, the biomass also increases when the size of an organism increases. Biomass means the weight of a living organism. So that is known as growth. Now usually only living organisms grow, whereas non-living organisms do not grow. The second one is reproduction. Reproduction. When any organism is capable of producing offsprings which is similar to itself, that process is known as reproduction. Any organism which is given birth to another organism and that organism, it is similar to the parent, that process is known as reproduction. Reproduction could be of different types. It could be sexual reproduction. It could be asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction, example, we can take human beings. Human beings do not carry out asexual reproduction. What is happening in human beings is sexual reproduction. What is asexual reproduction? There are different types of, when we talk about sexual reproduction, here there is a formation of sperm and there is formation of egg. When the sperm and egg fuses, what is formed? Zygote is formed. This zygote will develop into a new individual or offspring. Right? When we talk about asexual reproduction, there are different types. For example, we'll take fungus or fungi. They will produce asexual spores. Okay? Like in human beings, male produce sperm and female produce egg. In fungi, they produce something called as asexual spores, which will form a new fungi body. Okay, that's how fungi reproduce. There is one more type of reproduction. Okay, if we take another living organism known as planaria, We will study about all these organisms when we come to animal kingdom. Planaria, it's known as flatworm. They actually carry out reproduction in the form of regeneration. Okay? In this case, what happens is, if you imagine this is the body of the organism, if it gets cut, okay, or if it becomes a fragment, then what happens is the cut part of the body, this is the cut part of the body, it will regenerate its whole body. Again, it will form the whole body and it will be called as a new organism. Okay, so if the body of the planaria or flatworm is fragmented, then the cut part of the body again develops the regenerates, what we call as regenerates the lost part of the body and develop into a new organism. This is known as regeneration. Or there are certain organisms in like yeast and hydra. What do they do is, imagine this is the body of the yeast. They will form something known as bud on its body surface. This is yeast cell. Okay, on the yeast cell a small bud is formed. Later this bud gets separated from the yeast body. Okay, this bud gets separated from the yeast body and they will develop into a new yeast. Okay, so this is how few other organisms like yeast and hydra, they reproduce. They will form a bud on its body, main body surface. The bud is going to develop into a new organism. Okay, in few other organisms like algae, especially filamentous algae, then mosses we will study when we go to bryophytes. Okay, in such organisms, what happens is they carry out reproduction in the form of fragmentation. Fragmentation means their body becomes smaller pieces. Then those these smaller pieces are known as fragments. These fragments will develop into a new individual. Okay, so algae and mosses, what happens is the body is fragmented, or the body is cut into splits into few smaller pieces. These smaller pieces are known as fragments. They will develop into new individuals. This also happens in mosses. Okay, if we are considering bacteria and amoeba, they carry out reproduction in the form of what we know as fission. Fission means, imagine this is the body of a amoeba. Then what happens is it develops a narrow furrow. Okay, a furrow is formed here. Okay, so then ultimately the whole body of the amoeba splits into two amoebas. This is how amoeba and bacteria reproduce. This is known as fission, or specifically binary fission, because a body gets divided into two new organisms. Okay, so this is another type of reproduction which is known as fission, which happens in bacteria and amoeba. Even though they are not very important for you, you should know that these are the different types of reproduction happening in living organisms. Since we are talking about reproduction, we know there are two types of reproduction, sexual as well as asexual. In asexual reproduction, all the types of reproduction that I have studied, that I have taught you are covered. Okay, then let's talk about the next type of characteristics, which is metabolism. Metabolism means the sum total of chemical reactions happening in our body. Okay, I have already explained that whatever state we are in, whether we are sleeping, whether we are standing, whether we are running, whether we are sitting, there are certain set of chemical reactions. Those are happening in our body continuously. These chemical reactions together, all the chemical that are happening in our body together, they are referred as metabolism. That's why we say sum total of chemical reactions. Okay, digestion is a type of chemical reaction. Your breathing, that is a type of chemical reaction. The exchange of gases are happening. And your body is burning, fat. That is a type of chemical reaction. Your body is digesting the food that you have consumed. That is a chemical reaction. So there are different chemical reactions happening in our body, inside our body. All these chemical reactions, the sum total of it, or together we call them as metabolism. Metabolism are of two types: anabolism and catabolism. Okay, anabolism means it is a building reaction. It is a building reaction. Catabolism means it is a breaking reaction. It is a breaking reaction. What do you mean by building reaction and breaking reaction? So now you know what is metabolism. All the chemical reactions happening in our body, together we call them as metabolism. They are of two types, anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism means building reaction. Building reaction means two molecules are coming together. For example, there are multiple amino acids coming together and forming one particular protein. That is a building reaction. I hope you are able to identify, or you are able to recall. Building reaction means there are few amino acids present in our body. All the amino acids, they come together and they form a protein. So here something is being built. So that reaction is known as building reaction. Breaking reaction or catabolism means a protein is being broken down to amino acids. That is known as breaking reaction. If you break a protein, you will get many amino acids. This reaction is known as breaking reaction, where many amino acids come together and build a protein. That is building reaction, which is anabolism. Okay, so this is again another characteristics of a living organism. Then the next characteristics that we have studied is cellular organization. Cellular organization. How cells are organized in our body. We all know that there are different organisms like unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. Unicellular organisms mean an organism which has only one cell in its body. Multicellular organisms, for example, human beings, we have trillions of cells in our body. Okay, our body is made up of millions and millions of cells. Together constructs our body. So we are multicellular organisms. Bacteria, yeast, all of them, they are unicellular organism. So what is the difference? In unicellular organism, there is only one cell. So all the body functions are carried out by this one cell. Whereas in multicellular organisms, we have multiple millions and millions of cells in our body. So what happens in this case, in every circle represents a cell. When many cells, they come together. This is unicellular organism. In this case, all the cellular activity, all the body functions are carried out by only one cell. Okay, digestion is carried out by them, excretion is carried out by them, breathing is carried out by them, all the processes are carried out by them. Whereas in case of multicellular organism, there is a cell, the cell aggregates to form group of cells which is known as tissue. When the tissues, many different types of tissues come together, they form an organ. When many organs come together, they form organ system. When the whole organ system or different organ system functions together, it forms a individual body. Right? So in multicellular organisms, ultimately the basic of life is cell. That's why we call cell as structural and functional unit of living organisms. Why? Structural, because it gives structure to our body. Our body is made up of trillions of cells. You know what is a trillion, right? Million, we say million, billion, the similar way we say trillion. So our body is made up of trillions of cells that gives structure to our body. So the cell is a structural and functional. It gives structure to our body, so we call them as structural unit. It also carries out different functions in our body, so we call cell as functional unit. Okay, cell performs different functions in our body, especially if you talk about unicellular organisms. All the body functions are carried out by one single cell. So it gives structure as well as it carries out function. So we call them structural and functional unit of any living organisms. In multicellular organism, one cell performs functions. When multiple cells of similar types, they come together, it forms tissue. And when different types of tissues come together, it forms organ. When different organs come together and perform together, that is known as organ system. Finally, different organ system forms an individual's body. Okay, so this is all about structural organization. Then we'll look into the next type of characteristic of a living organism, which is consciousness. Okay, consciousness means we are able to sense our environment. Okay, if the temperature in our environment goes cold, becomes low, our body can sense it. If the temperature goes higher in the atmosphere or in the environment, our body can sense it. So we have the ability to sense our environment. Can a bench sense the environment? No. Can a desk sense the environment? No. Okay, so can this board sense the environment? No. If the temperature is going up or low, will this board change its character? No. It remains the same because it is non-living. Wherever if the temperature in the environment goes low, our body starts to shiver because we are responding. If the temperature goes higher, we start sweating because we are responding. Okay, so we sense the environment. We are able to sense it. We are able to identify every small modification happening in the environment. So we sense and we also respond to these environmental factors. Okay, what do we sense? We sense everything that is happening in the environment. Okay, they are known as environmental factors. These environmental factors are also known as environmental stimuli. Environmental stimuli. These environmental factors are also known as environmental stimuli. Stimuli means something stimulating, right? Something stimulating. Stimulating means when the temperature, let's take an environmental stimuli as temperature. Okay, the temperature is known as a stimuli because this temperature can stimulate something. Imagine this temperature is low. This is a stimuli. It stimulates our body to shiver. Stimuli can stimulate. If you call something as a stimuli, it should have the capacity to stimulate. Okay, so we are considering temperature as a stimuli. Temperature can stimulate in our body. If the temperature becomes cold, that is a stimuli, our body shivers. That is a response we are giving to that particular stimuli. Okay, so these environmental stimuli can be light, water, it could be other organism, okay, so there could be different environmental stimuli. Our body will respond in different way to different wavelength of light. Our body differs, especially the organisms which are living in water, their body concentration or the body's osmotic concentration depending upon the osmotic concentration of the water. So the body respond, right? This ability of sensing. Sensing means judging what is happening in our environment. That sensing and responding comes only to living organisms. This ability of consciousness is never a characteristic of a non-living object. It is only the characteristics of a living organism. We sense and we respond to environmental factors like different light. Temperature is one of the important stimuli. Temperature, if the temperature in the environment changes, our body senses and our body responds in different way. Okay, light again, the similar way, especially plants. Plants are also living organism. They respond to light. When we are talking about living organism, we are talking about plants also because plants are also living. They also have the capacity to sense and respond to different wavelengths of light. Okay, and water. Water level, especially the organisms living in aquatic environment or water. They respond to different environmental factors. Okay, this response to changing environment is referred as irritability. Okay, when we respond to the changing environment, that property is known as irritability. Response to the changing environment. When the environment is changing, our body sense and our body responses according to that particular change. That is known as irritability. This is another property of living organisms. So we have studied what is living. The state of being alive is known as living. What are the different characteristics of living organism? It includes growth, it includes reproduction, it includes metabolism, it includes cellular organization, and finally consciousness. Okay, so we are done with today's class. It was just the introduction for this chapter known as the living world. We will move on to the next topic in our next upcoming classes, which will be nomenclature. Okay, how we name an organism. We will study what is binomial nomenclature. We will study about different taxonomical aids. We will study about different levels of classification, or what is taxonomy, what is taxonomical hierarchy. All these topics will be covered in the upcoming classes. Thank you for today.